Hi there. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to set up your quiz settings for any quiz or exam that you set up in Schoology. So first thing you're going to do is just open up your quiz that you've created. And here I've got my questions that I've set up in advance for my quiz. So now I'm ready to create my settings so that I can make my quiz available to my students and available in the same way that I want them to see it. So the first thing that I want to do is go over here and check to make sure that I have set up everything here at the beginning point for my students in just the way that I want them to see it. So that my title is correct, my due date, my points, that I have it in the correct grading category, correct scale, and that I've got all of my assignments here just the way that I want them. And again, that's the cog over here on the right that you'll see on the right side of any quiz or exam. Next thing I'm going to go into is my second button here, my second tab for settings. I'm going to open this up here, okay? And this is where you're going to have to go for every one of the quizzes and exams that you create in Schoology. None of them are auto-populated with your preferred settings, so you need to always make sure that every single time that you set up a quiz or exam, you have to go in here and create it, okay? So one thing you're going to need to do is set up directions. Now, your directions do have your editing menu up here at the top, so you can add in anything that you want to. You can even switch it over here to HTML if you have something that you want to embed. That's fine too. You can also insert any kind of content that you want to. If you want to insert an image or a video or a link or just whatever it is that you want to put in there, that's possible. One thing that I do with my students is to just remind them of basic quiz behavior. So let them know whether or not they can use their notes, whether or not they're allowed to Google the answers, what kind of time limitation that they're going to have on them, and that kind of thing. So I'll use those instructions here when I set up for my quiz and my settings. Okay, so now you've got your directions set up for your students, so now you're going to go into the next part, which is your availability. So you can use any of these here. So available now means that the quiz is open now and will stay open until you close it. Your next option is that it's open now until a certain time period. So let's say that you've got a due date coming up at a certain date, and so you want to close it at that date. You can do that. Another option is to set the start and finish time for the exam so that it's opened at a certain time, then it closes at a certain time. That's a possibility too. And you can also hide it. So when it's hidden, your students cannot see it at all. They have no indication whatsoever that you've got a quiz there, but you can see it on your end as the instructor. I'm just going to make mine available. Alright, so time limits. If you do not put a time limit, a student can literally open this thing up and have it open for days or weeks or months. As long as the course is available, the quiz can be open. And it won't shut down on the student unless they turn off their computer or something to that effect. So I set a quiz time limit on my particular quizzes, and it's up to you to decide, up to you and your school to decide what your policy is going to be on that. And you can set it up for however many minutes or hours that you want to have that open and available to students. You can also set up how many attempt limits that you want to have. If this is a quiz they're using to create something like practice problems, that you might want to have the students have a greater opportunity to practice it a couple of times. Or if you're looking for the students to just take it once and genuinely assess what it is that they've learned, then you may just want to leave it down to where they can have only one assessment time. Okay? I'm just going to put this on 3 times just so that we can see this piece over here. You can also allow the system to choose which score to choose. Okay? So you can go by what's their highest score that they scored out of the 3, what was their last score, making the assumption that they would have improved over time, or you can also go with an average. Up to you to choose what you think is going to work out the best. You can also randomize the order of the questions. That's up to you as to whether or not you want to do that. And then paging is where you use page breaks, or if you want to have one question per page. So it's up to you if you want to have one question per page so that the students aren't distracted by the other questions and bouncing back and forth, or if you want them to be able to see all of their questions at once and have the page breaks to where they can go back and forth. Language keyboard, so if you're teaching a Spanish class, you will want to use that. The question review, whether they can come back to a question and see their questions and make changes to them. That's what that question there is for. And whether it's resumable. So if they take the quiz and then they decide, oh, I've got to go take a break or I have to go do something else, I'm going to come back to this quiz. If you hit yes on the resumable button, they will be able to come back to that quiz and be able to finish it up later. And then your last button here on settings is for what they can see after they have completed the quiz. Okay? So if you don't want them to be able to see the submissions at all, you'll click no. If you want them to be able to see the quiz itself, you can click yes. And then if you want them to be able to see with their answers, then you'll correct with yes with the correct answers. Okay? The other settings that you have available to you are, and we'll just save those settings that we've set up there. You can preview by taking the quiz yourself so that you can test out your quiz and make sure it's working in the way that you want it to work. So you can try that out, totally up to you. I'll leave that page on our taking a look there. And also when you go to your results page, what you're going to have is the name of each one of your students. They're going to be listed out here. You're going to be able to see how many times that they have attempted this quiz. So it'll give you a solid number here. And when their latest attempt was. This will be a date. So it'll let you know when that occurred. And then it will give you their score. Now you can go in here and click on View Attempts. And typically it will allow you to see that the student has attempted this particular quiz. You can also reset it here under your score button. Let's say that a student says, oh, you know, I went in and tried to take my quiz and my computer shut down in the middle of it or something to that effect, and I wasn't able to complete my quiz. Right underneath of the score button, once you have students in a quiz, there will be a cog right here, and that will allow you to reset that for your student. And then here over on the comments page, our comments is closed, so we don't have to worry about that. So that's our settings, how we set up our settings for our different quizzes. Other options are that you can go into your stats and availability, which we will cover in another video, and your main information for your quiz here as well. Okay, so just some really general information on the settings for how to create quizzes when you're in Schoology. Hopefully this is useful to you as you're working with quizzes and exams with Schoology features, and we'll show you more in in the videos that are coming up too.